Hi, movie Synopsis here. Today, I'm going to explain a comedy film called Bad Moms. Set in the Chicago suburbs, Amy Mitchell is an overworked 30-year-old mother of two. Between caring for her kids Dylan and Jane, doing her job, going to PTA meetings, and just handling a bunch of things all at once, she barely has time for herself and is rarely rewarded with gratitude. The PTA is run by perfect mom Gwendolyn James, who is always followed by her two lackeys Stacy and Vicky. Gwendolyn is always getting Amy to go to PTA meetings even though they are ridiculous. Gwendolyn is clearly overbearing and mentally crazy as she verbally pushes around Stacy and Vicky as well as talks degrading things about the other ladies who drop off their children at the school behind their backs. Amy's job is mostly part-time at a coffee company, and her boss Dale is an idiot, while her other coworkers are lazy millennials. During dinner, Jane freaks out about the postings for the soccer team that night, which in turn makes Amy freak out. The two go online and see that Jane made the team, and they get excited. Moments later, Amy walks into her man-child husband Mike's office to find him jerking off. She thinks it's porn and doesn't care at first until the naked woman named Sharon on-screen turns out to be someone on a webcam. When Amy asks how long this has been going on, Sharon says about 10 months, and Mike admits he developed feelings for the woman. Amy kicks Mike out of the house. The next day, the family's dog Roscoe isn't feeling well, so Amy has to take him with her as she drops the kids off at school. Gwendolyn startles her, making her spill coffee on herself. She asks Amy to attend a PTA meeting that afternoon regarding a bake sale. Amy heads off to the vet and is told she has to carry the dog all day since he has vertigo. This makes Amy miss an important meeting at work. She is then late to pick up Dylan and Jane from school, and Jane is late for her first day of soccer practice. They head over, and Amy accidentally hits a bus, knocking off her side mirror. As Amy tries to explain herself to the coach, a kid slides down the field and knocks Amy down. That evening, the disheveled Amy begrudgingly attends the PTA meeting with the other moms. Gwendolyn restricts the moms from bringing anything to the bake sale that contains basically any ingredient used in a baked good. When she assigns Amy the job of weeding out the bad ingredients, Amy puts her foot down and states what a hectic day she's had, and how she is tired of all the nonsense, so she quits the PTA. Later, Amy goes to a bar and meets two other moms, stay-at-home Kiki and always horny and irresponsible Carla. They both praise Amy for saying what they've always been too afraid to say. The three of them have drinks and discuss the hardships of motherhood. They decide that instead of being role model moms, they want to be bad moms that do whatever the hell they want to do. They start by going to the supermarket and making a mess by eating whatever they want and making a chocolate milk martini. The next morning, Amy wakes up disheveled and doesn't bother to make the kids breakfast. She takes them to school in Mike's red sports car and then has a nice quiet breakfast by herself like she's fantasized, blowing off work. When Dale calls her on speakerphone, she lets her coworkers know what a crappy boss he is. Amy meets up with Kiki and Carla to go to the movies. They get food afterward, where Kiki's husband Ken appears and essentially makes her ditch her friends and return home to watch their four kids, which puts off Amy and Carla. The school holds its bake sale, and Amy just brings store-bought donut holes. She's approached by the handsome widowed father Jesse, who shows interest in Amy. Gwendolyn comes over and smacks the box off the table, threatening to bring Amy down for messing with her organized bake sale. She storms off and knocks another mom's cupcakes over. Another day later, Amy is taking Jane to a Mandarin class, but since she doesn't like it, Amy instead treats Jane to a spa day at the place where Carla works since she could sneak them in. Amy accidentally lets it slip that she and Mike are splitting up, which upsets Jane, but Amy tries to comfort her. That night, Amy decides she wants to get laid since she's only ever had sex with Mike, and that hasn't been in years. Kiki and Carla pick out a sexy dress for Amy while also making fun of her mom bra. The ladies go out to a bar, but every guy that Amy comes across gets put off by her acting too much like a mom and talking about being a mom. Jesse and his buddies show up, leaving him and Amy to sit and talk together. Jesse talks about how he's noticed what a good job Amy does with her kids, leading to them making out. Meanwhile, Gwendolyn forces the soccer coach to bench Jane to get back at Amy. When Amy finds out it was Gwendolyn, she confronts her and challenges her to become the new head of the PTA. With Kiki and Carla's help, they spread word to the other moms about Amy running for the position. One day, Dylan complains to Amy about her not finishing his school project for him and for not making breakfast anymore. She tells him that he's become entitled and that he'll grow up to be rotten if he keeps it up, so he can be influenced to change. Amy, Kiki, and Carla hold a party at Amy's house for the moms to get them to vote for her. Only one mom shows up, and that's just because Carla threatened to bang her husband. The other moms are at Gwendolyn's posh party since she hired Martha Stewart. However, Gwendolyn bores the other moms by suggesting they have year-round school. The mom at Amy's party texts the other moms, and everyone leaves to go to her house. They end up having way more fun, and Martha even heads over with Jell-O shots. Every woman there drinks, goofs off, and acts crazy. Carla gets so drunk that she makes out with a few single mothers. Gwendolyn, Stacy, and Vicky go over to Amy's house to watch her give a speech on doing less instead of overworking themselves and their kids. The moms cheer for Amy, but Gwendolyn decides it's time to fight back. She and her cohorts sneak into the school at night and slip something into a locker. After the party, Jesse shows up to Amy's house after getting a disturbing text message written by Carla. The two end up having sex. The next day, Amy gets a surprise when Mike returns home and claims that he wants to work things out. She wants him to go to therapy with her, which he dreads. The two end up going and meeting with Dr. Carl. When she makes Amy and Mike roleplay as each other, their true feelings come out, in which Mike says Amy is a perfectionist and Amy says that Mike is immature and good for nothing, and the two of them just aren't in love anymore. Dr. Carl realizes their marriage can't be fixed and suggests they divorce immediately. The two leave, but they apologize to each other and part on better terms. Amy gets a phone call from Principal Burr, who asks her to go to the school. A bag of joints was found in Jane's locker, and Burr was apparently tipped off by a concerned parent. Amy knows it was Gwendolyn, but Burr still kicks Jane off the soccer team and suspends her from school. Jane runs out in tears, and Amy follows. Jane tells her that she's become selfish and has neglected her parental duties in favor of hanging out with her new friends. Jane and Dylan, and the dog, end up staying with Mike for a little bit. To top it all off, Amy gets fired for not showing up to work lately. This leaves Amy alone and despaired. The night of the PTA elections arrives. Gwendolyn gives a long speech, leaving Kiki and Carla to go to Amy's house, where she is miserably watching a movie. The two inspire her to get up on her feet and get back at Gwendolyn for hurting Jane. They drive off to the school in a wild ride in Mike's sports car. During the hectic drive, Kiki gets a call from Kent, who is left alone with the kids. He demands that she come home, but she finally stands up for herself and tells him it's his turn to deal with the kids. Amy and Carla are very proud. Another few days later, the kids return to Amy's house. Jane is back on the soccer team, and she thanks her mom and apologizes for acting out on her. Dylan surprises Amy by making her a frittata for breakfast. Amy drives the kids to school and gets a call from Dale, who begs her to come back to work since the place is falling apart without her. Amy agrees to come back on the condition that she gets paid double and that her work schedule becomes more flexible. Amy drops the kids off and meets with Kiki and Carla. As they decide on what they should do that day, Gwendolyn pulls up in her car and invites the ladies to join her. They decide to take Gwendolyn's husband's private jet to wherever they want to go. Thanks for watching. Like for the video.